Hey guys, welcome to the Fingerguns podcast. I'm AJ.
And I'm Harper, and we're your hosts today. And we have another special guest for you guys this week.
Hi! So my name is Abby Scheidler. I'm a person who likes bad movies, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about when Harper and AJ were so awesome as to offer to have me on their podcast. I was like, well, since you guys are talking about film, would you like to see a bad version of film?
The best of the worst.
Oh yes, it takes talent to make such a strange movie.
It is a very particular kind of talent. Neil Breen is a filmmaker. He's very much an indie filmmaker, so he constantly talks about having a low budget. He considers himself very edgy, very deep, and he has grown hugely in popularity on the internet for his just awful movies, from acting to filming to editing to music to props to like basic story plots. It's just insane how much he gets wrong. And yeah, he's just notorious for his stuff.
AJ and I first discovered this guy a while back. I can't remember what from, but we watched like a few trailers of his. We're very confused, but we thought it was great. But Abby actually has watched a lot of the films.
I have.
So why don't you tell us about some of them?
Okay, so I'm a bit of a Neil Breen expert. I haven't seen all of his movies, but I do know the basic plots of most of them. My timeline might be a little off, but here's the basics. So I believe we start with Double Down, which is a movie where Neil Breen is a hacker. He's going to hack the government because the government's corrupt. You will see this theme constantly.
Yes.
And
in all of the movies.
And he also stars in all of them.
He stars in all of his movies. I should have mentioned that. He's always the main character in his movies. And that movie is crazy because it's only composed of a couple shots. Like, basically, what it looks like to most people is that Neil Breen took a bunch of takes of him doing different scenes, but then realized that his movie wasn't long enough, so he just used all the takes. So very repetitive, not fun to watch. Then next, I believe it is I Am Here, ... Now, which is a movie where Neil Breen plays a cyborg Jesus, and the world is very bad. There's very bad people, and there's very good people, and basically that whole movie is just Neil Breen fixing the world.
So you're saying all of the plots of the movies are basically the same?
Very close. They're all very,
awesome.
Very close. Yeah, so next in his filmography is Faithful Findings. So this one is crazy famous, like, on the internet. This one, Neil Breen dialed it back a little bit. He does play a human in this one, but he is the holder of a magic rock that makes him immortal and basically gives him superpowers. Yeah, that one's a fun one. Then next, I believe, is Pass Through, which is the movie we watched today, where Neil Breen, again, dialing it back a little bit, he does play a human until his human person dies and is possessed by an AI alien superpowered thing.
Neil Breen does not understand what AI is. I think we need to...
I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
Actually, I have an alternative theory. I think he is an AI, and he just doesn't know how to make, like, human movies.
That would
He's
make
trying his best.
Sense.
It honestly makes so much sense.
He just doesn't understand how anything works. But
that theory is completely valid.
So then the last film is his filmography. I believe there's another one coming out sometime. But the last one is called Twisted Pair, and you guys said you watched the trailer for that one.
That's the one we watched.
This is where Neil Breen plays, again, an alien superpower thing, trying to bring justice to the world, but this time he has a twin who's the opposite and is very bad. So that completes Neil Breen's filmography, and I mean, yeah, they're all different in their own ways. They're like the first couple, I'd say, Double Down through Pass Through, all have a similar level of quality and like confusingness and Neil Breen's egotism shining through. where there's a conspiracy going around with the last film, Twisted Pair, that Neil Breen's starting to understand why people are watching his films, it's specifically because they're bad. And there's a conspiracy that he made Twisted Pair bad on purpose, especially with those fun special effects that are seen in the trailer.
Love those.
Yeah. And, so a lot of people don't like that because it's not as funny when the person's trying to be bad.
Fair.
But would either of you like to try and sum up Pass-Through by any chance?
Okay, so basically there's like these people, and I think they're trying to immigrate into America, and then it cuts, and then you get Neil Breen and this tiger on a cliff, and he's like interacting with these cave paintings, and then we go back to the immigrants, and then this lady comes and shoots a boy and his grandma. And then after that, 2 girls break away from the rest of the group, and then one girl screams aggressively at the other that she's her aunt, and that's why they have to run away. And then I don't remember the order, but I think we flash back to Neil Breen monologuing on a rock, and then back to the immigrants, I think, who are now captured. And then we also, and then, oh my god, there's too many plots. And then there's also these kids, and they like space, and they're friends with this dude named the Professor, who's old. I sound like a crazy person, but I'm not lying. This is how the movie actually goes. AJ, do you wanna continue?
So, basically, they're trying to look for this signal, which is like this red dot that appears at the most weird times in the movie. It's
There
just
are
a
12
red
counts
dot on the screen, and you think it has significance, just like a lot of the things in the movie, and it does not. It doesn't have any significance. Neither does the tiger. Like, no one explains why the tiger is there, and then there's these random shadows that are like, it's like, oh, there's shadows from something, and it turns out that the shadows are being made by this guy named Jim, who is suffering from PTSD. And this is where my favorite quote in the movie comes from. It's, "You will be free of your PTSD." Brilliant screenwriting.
Spoken by
Okay.
Neil Breen, of course.
But then the response
Yes.
to that makes it even better, because the response is, "Thank you for freeing me."
Oh, it should be mentioned that in this movie, Neil Breen's name is Till, spelled THGIL.
GIL.
Yes, and if you can figure that out, it is light backwards, which they literally say in the movie.
And she was like, that's just light backwards. But there's like no, like, that's like not even a big plot point. And he like goes into explanation. Like, if he hadn't explained how to spell his name, he's like, it's spelled like this, but we pronounce it Till. And she's like, oh, and then she finds out that it's light backwards, and it's just like this totally useless scene.
So then halfway through the movie, it kind of takes a bit of a turn when Neil Breen reveals that he's this alien superpowered person to this woman. He says that he's going to cleanse the human race of all the bad humans.
And then we get to our favorite sequence of the entire movie. Do we want to act it out? Okay, let's act it out. I'll be the corrupt people, and then does one of you want to be Neil Breen?
AJ.
I'll be Neil.
AJ, go.
Okay. I'm a politician. I manipulate the people with my power, but they don't know. I use them to my advantage, and I make sure that everything happens the way I want it. And I can help you with your corrupt ways too, for a price.
Isn't that corrupt?
So we can't do it like as good as they did, but it's basically all these people just blatantly telling people that they're like the worst people ever, and then it's Neil Breen just standing there. Isn't that corrupt?
And then Neil Breen blows up the building.
Oh yes, and very bad, very, very, very bad effects.
So then we cut to these newscasters, right? And they're talking about
yes.
how these politicians are, they're so fake, but we're going to show it anyway because of money. Like,
Because we're fake too.
honestly, that's like more subtle than the dialogue in the movie. But then, so Neil Breen just shows up and he's like, all right, you're gone. And they disappear into
They
the
literally
void.
like disappear. They just fade away.
And then Neil Breen gets on this international news station and is like, hello, yes, I am an alien species, and y'all humans suck. No more excuses. I'm gonna kill everyone who's a bad human.
So I think something we do need to mention is that Neil Breen has the least subtle dialogue ever. It's just exposition dump.
So that happens. The newscasters are dead. Neil Breen has his speech, which takes forever.
Oh yeah,
Everything
it's
in
a
this
very
movie
long speech.
takes forever. And then I think the niece runs away. Isn't that right?
Yes, the niece goes into this cave.
Missing.
And this cave, by the way, has been like flashing in and out throughout the movie like 6 times. And then we're like, why is this here? And then finally we figure it out. And would anyone like to tell us what happens in the cave?
So I kind of already spoiled it earlier, but throughout the movie, there was these shots of like these ominous shadows. So it turns out there is somebody in the cave that is making shadows. Jim, his name is Jim. And he has PTSD, and he wanted to be alone.
Never
so
explained.
He went to a cave. Yeah, and it didn't make any sense. And then Neil Breen cured him of his PTSD, and then that was like
Freed him?
That was like a reveal that came like at the very end of the movie.
And then we close out. No, we don't close out, do we? Well, okay. So the aunt's ex-husband
Comes in out of nowhere.
Oh my god! And then he shoots them.
He shoots the niece and the woman dead. Neil Breen just kind of stands there while it happens, and then the ex-husband's like, "What are you doing here?" And then Neil Breen's like, "Don't shoot me, because you can't,
Alien, whatever he
you
is.
can't shoot me." And then the ex-husband dramatically turns and shoots his own head with the gun, and like, so then Neil Breen resurrects the 2 ladies, and then he's gonna take them to like his home, I guess, which is like a better place, which is super ominous.
A big thing throughout this movie, which we were all not loving, was that Neil Breen basically stands on a rock, and then this drone pans up and like shows off the entire landscape, and then there's like dubbed in, it's just Neil Breen monologuing about nothing.
Literally the most mundane lessons, like change happens,
Humanity is bad.
actions have consequences.
But he says this for so long. Like, he just
So
keeps
long.
going on and on. And then there's like this scene where he confronts the immigrants and he's like, you guys go back to where you came from. And like, the lesson, I guess, was supposed to be good, but just the phrasing made it very confusing. It's just very on the nose.
Yeah, because like,
but the message isn't good.
If you guys have been tracking with us so far, this movie is extremely confusing and frustrating to watch because it does not tie together in the end like you would want it to, you know? Because there are so many ideas in this movie that like didn't come together.
there was
Nothing
just
came together.
the fact that characters were introduced like in the last 10 minutes of the movie. Jim,
ex-husband, the kid's dad,
to kind of separate from the movie itself and go deeper into Neil Breen himself. There's very clear ego problems here, and many people have touched on that, and like how he's always this omnipotent. I don't know how to pronounce words.
Omnipotent.
Thank you. Messianic, like this powerful being that's just better than everyone else morally and physically and all this stuff.
Basically, everyone he vanished or cleansed, as he so put it, appears in like this desert valley they're in, and then it's just rows and rows of like bodies, and then they walk away into the Aurora Borealis, and that's it. That's the end of the movie.
Yep.
And it's like, what, and then it ends, and then you're left confused, a little sad, and a little disturbed. But then, of course, we get to the best part of the movie, in my opinion, the credits.
Oh my gosh. The credits, oh my gosh. Neil Breen credits are notorious. So, of course, written, directed, and produced by Neil Breen.
Amazing.
Almost everything involved with the movie making process, Neil Breen had a hand in. And So, when you get farther down in the credits, you get a lot of company names, such as N&N Food Company, BBN, whatever. There's a lot of these companies that have uppercase N's or B's. So that's, like, you know, a little confusing, but, you know, fine.
I was so confused. I was like, people actually worked on this?
Right? So then you get down to the bottom, and there's a little disclaimer there, and it says that all of the companies with the letter N or B in the name are actually fictional and were done personally by Neil Breen.
And it's just like, what?
It's baffling because this is at a period of time where Neil Breen is actually trying. I mean, that's debatable for a lot of people, but he is actually trying. He considers himself an edgy adult filmmaker at this point.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a scene where a man's got a fake spine prop and he's waving it around on a cave wall to make shadows, and you're like, where did you get this? Presumably you wrote a script. How?
But to be fair, if you were trying to make a bad movie, you couldn't come up with quality like this.
That's true.
It takes a lot of work to make something bad. So spectacularly bad that he had to be serious, which is sad. But, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, overall, what would you like to summarize it?
There's no moral to this podcast episode because there's no moral to this movie. And we're not going to give you the weird, twisted, strange message they try to give us. Just, if you're having a bad day, watch one of these movies, you know?
It'll make you feel
It'll make
better
you
about
happy.
yourself.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I can take away a little bit from this movie because Neil Breen is like known to be like a comically bad amateur filmmaker. That's what it is. He's an amateur filmmaker. I am an aspiring filmmaker. I'm also an amateur filmmaker. So as much as like I hated watching this, I mean like I loved it and I hated it at the same time.
Yep.
The way it
Because
should
it's
be.
like it's so bad and it's almost like, okay, this is how you don't make movies.
Absolutely.
But it's also like, I mean, filmmakers is like we've all been there kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's like he just hasn't progressed.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's interesting. Yeah.
That's
no,
very
Yeah.
nice of
I
you
can
to
relate
say.
to that actually. Yeah, and like maybe that's one of the reasons it's so uncomfortable to watch is because you know you're watching a grown man do this, and so
And it's not a joke.
yeah, like it's there's effort, but it's effort in the wrong places, and you can see like this is his fourth film and he's still like repeating some of the same mistakes. So I wonder if that's part of like the visceral like cringe that you get when watching some of these scenes.
You know, you might be right. All right. Thank you, Abby, for coming. Thank you for your awesome idea. This is one of our best episodes yet because of
thank you.
the sheer quality. And yeah.
Thank you,
Well,
guys.
Thank you, Abby. And we'll have Abby back, by the way. Definitely.
Oh, I'm coming back.
And Ryan,
that's a thing.
too.
And Ryan.
Oh,
Maybe
gosh.
both of them together. We don't know. That might be fun.
Oh no. Oh, by the way, I'm
So-
legally obligated to say Mr. Wesselman's name 3 times in an episode because he got mad
Oh.
when it didn't happen in Ryan Stanton's episode.
Ugh.
So,
Okay.
Wesselman. Okay, we're good.
You summoned him.
I know.
All right. Well,
Well, I guess that's all that we have for today. We'll talk to you guys next week.
if we're not dead yet. Bye.
Bye.